Greetings and hello to everybody. This is Max, and welcome to Maximus Uncensored, Episode 4. Happy Valentine's Day and happy President's Day. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful, long, restful weekend, spending it with a loved one and enjoying the family and some good food, watching good movies, taking a little relaxation, playing some good music, getting your mind off of the cares of this crazy world, and enjoying our beautiful, peaceful country. I'm sorry I've been away for so long as far as doing podcasts. I never intended to do a podcast very often. I said this a gazillion times during the holidays, and I know there was a demand for them. But I'll do podcasts periodically as I think something really piques my interest and I want to cover it. I've been and honestly, the reason I haven't done one for about a month is because or for weeks, whatever it's been, is because I've been really busy with my seminars and my crash courses, which have taken up a large part of my time. And as many of you know that follow me, and you can follow me at Twitter, it's at Maximus _ the number 4 EVR. You can also follow me on Gab, same handle, and on Parler when they back up and running at Maximus the number 4 EVR. But I've been really busy with my seminars and crash courses, which have really so many different people have been signing up for, showing interest in and whatnot. And it's I'm glad to help people understand the broad title for my seminars is Civics Maximus, which I think is a kind of catchy title. And they really are a bunch of seminars dedicated to enlightening people and educating them in civics. And I just have a better understanding of how the government works or should work. But we also cover a lot of other topics. And I'll put up on the screen, this is going to be the schedule for my seminars over the next couple of months. The next one's actually my conservative symposium. Conservative philosophy in the Trump era, which I'm going to go into depth on neoconservatism, paleoconservatism, neoliberalism, economic nationalism, socialism, Marxism. All of these different philosophies we'll be discussing and debating. I do my seminars in a Socratic format, so my classes we have conversations, and that's how we learn. But we'll be going through all these topics. I'll be leading these classes and lecturing to some degree during it, but a Socratic format is very different. That's going to be on February 26th to the 27th. It's a 2-day seminar. And then I'll be doing an encore the following week on March 4th and 5th for many who could not make it that weekend, but requested that I do it again later the following week. And then on March 26th to the 27th, I think it is, I'll be doing my popular basic seminar, which is going to be Civics Maximus, Democracy versus Republic. And that'll be the third part to that series. It'll be actually the third one I've done, and then I'm going to expand it a little bit and include some other material. And then in April, I'm doing a seminar on, it's going to be my first history seminar, and this one's going to be on the medieval warrior, specifically the codes of chivalry and Bushido, samurai versus the medieval knight, European knight. And it'll be basically a 2-day or 3-day. I'm not 100% certain, and I think it's because I'm writing that seminar right now, and that one's looking like it's going to be about 3 days, where we're going to immerse ourselves into the lifestyle and the history and the culture of medieval warriors. And we'll be looking at 2 distinct types of warriors from medieval times, and I should say specifically medieval for European, but Edo period for the Japanese, and that's going to be the Japanese samurai and the European knight, specifically the English knight. So it's going to, I mean, if you're interested in history and you're interested in warfare and you're interested in martial arts and you're interested in fencing, any of these things, you may want to definitely sign up for that seminar. Anyway, so, but the big one coming up, of course, and the largest one is the Symposium in 2 weeks, and that's going to be really intense because we're going to define Trump doctrine and we're going to define Trumpism. Anyway, these things have been taking up my time and occupying everything, so that's why I haven't done podcasts. So, without further ado, moving into the big news of the weekend, the acquittal. As I said was going to happen in many of my tweets, Donald Trump was acquitted. And no surprise there for me anyways. I know some people were worried, but I just knew that they were not going to convict him. The charge was ridiculous, and the let's face it, the trial was unconstitutional. The Senate has no jurisdiction to try a private citizen. So the moment he left office, the entire impeachment should have just been dismissed. That's a charge. Impeachment is a charge, okay? A lot of people don't realize that. It's an indictment. Anybody can be impeached. Well, anyone can be indicted for any crime. And not everybody can be impeached. Impeachment is only for elected officials or judges. And on a federal level, that has to be a federal judge or a senator or representative or someone, a member of the cabinet. They can all be impeached. The fact is that impeachment is a political tool. I think the founders could have restructured it differently. It's strictly it is a political trial, political indictment. They can't send you to prison even if they convict you. The only thing the Constitution says that can happen is the person can be removed from office. There have been many impeachment trials in U.S. history. Most of them have been for non-presidents. They've been for judges, for senators, for cabinet members, etc. But the fact is that when they impeach the president, the House can impeach anybody, or can impeach the president for anything with a simple majority. In my opinion, the founders should have raised that to a 2/3 majority, or at least 60% of the House. But they can impeach any president on anything really. It's an indictment. Again, the trial happens in the Senate, and you need a 2/3 majority to convict, and they simply never are able to reach that threshold. And so if you can't convict on the vote, it's automatic acquittal. So you're not guilty. The fact is that when the president left office, and he was leaving office, he was now a private citizen. So if we were talking about a grand jury indictment, suddenly the person that's being indicted is no longer can stand trial because simply the court doesn't have jurisdiction. The court just dismisses the case. That's what the Senate should have done under McConnell and frankly Schumer. If you're following the letter of the law, you just can't try because the Senate does not have the constitutional authority to try a private citizen. Now they've set precedent for that, but regardless, they still don't have the constitutional authority to try a private citizen. If they did, they could take any one of us up there and try us to prevent us from running. House could impeach us, and then, which is again an indictment, doesn't mean you're removed from office, and then the Senate could try us. The thing is that they lack that jurisdiction. The Senate has said that several times in its history. It's one of the reasons why in 1974, in August, when Nixon resigned, the Senate, which was getting ready for an impeachment trial because the House was preparing articles of impeachment, dropped it because they simply had nothing. They could not go after President Nixon anymore. This was before Ford actually pardoned him. So they simply lack that jurisdiction. If you need further proof of that, just think of Chief Justice Roberts, who's no friend of Donald Trump's, and he's really no friend of conservatives. But the fact is he refused to give any sense of legitimacy to the hearing because it's not a reality. This is not a true trial, impeachment trial. The only punishment is to remove the man from office. Now, I know what they were thinking, and everybody kind of knows. They were going to try to link this in some way to the 14th Amendment and disqualify or bar him from running for president again if they convicted him. But they failed. They failed to do that. So now some people on the far left are talking about what? They're talking about barring him from office through a simple vote in a censure through both houses of Congress, right? Well, they can't do that. The 14th Amendment, Section 3, which is what they're referring to, was written expressly to prevent people that had actively engaged in insurrection and rebellion against the government of the United States during the Civil War from ever holding office. Now listen, This insurrection, quote unquote, on January 6th doesn't meet the threshold of an insurrection, not in criminal law. Otherwise, there'd be serious charges brought to a lot of to people, like, for instance, the people that are being, okay, rioting, disturbing the peace and all of that, but there would be serious push in criminal law to bring people to trial, even politicians that may have been in some way associated. There's no serious push for that because it's seriously not an insurrection. It doesn't meet that. An insurrection's like people are arming themselves and taking over the Capitol buildings and doing crazy, stupid, illegal stuff like that. Think of Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, Quantrill. Those men are the guys that the writers, the Republicans who wrote the 14th Amendment in 1866, they had them in mind when they wrote that. Those people there were traitors, actively engaged in rebellion against the United States government. And that's simply not what Donald Trump did by tweeting out peaceably, telling people to come to Washington and to let their voices be heard, and having a rally there, and then telling people to peaceably go and voice their opinion. By the way, that's all called protected speech. That's all First Amendment protected speech. You have a right to peaceably assemble and petition a redress of grievances, which is exactly what Donald Trump was encouraging. That's the First Amendment. So there's nothing unconstitutional in anything he did. Now, those that broke the rules and went in and rioted should be arrested and tried and put in jail, but that doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. And so this was all silly to begin with anyway. I thought it was dumb. I didn't watch 1 minute of the impeachment trial. I refused to. I mean, I read lots of excerpts of it. I read some of the transcripts, but I refused to give it any clicks on any stream. I didn't want to give it any attention. I thought it was ridiculous, like most Americans felt like it was ridiculous. Now they're thinking about the 14th Amendment. So they back to that again. Okay, so with the 14th Amendment, maybe we can do it through a censure, right? Well, censoring has always been just a slap on the wrist. They've censored so many people over so many things for so many years. So many politicians have been censored. You simply can't end run around it that way. Clearly, the fact that it's written with 2/3 required vote to lift a disqualification is implying that that has to be attached to some sort of grand jury indictment. And here's the thing. The deliberative body that just acquitted him can't bar him from office through a simple vote after they've acquitted him. That's like a judge dismissing a case or a jury coming back with not guilty, which is exactly what happened. The Senate was the jury, came back with the not guilty verdict, turning around after they do that and saying, yeah, but here's the punishment, you're going to jail anyway. You can't do that. And Schumer knows this. That's why he's pulled backpedaling from it. I mean, they really can't do that. You can't go back in now and say, he's just been acquitted from a crime. Now we're going to under some spurious twisting of the 14th Amendment, bar him from political office and punish him for the crime we just acquitted him from. The same people. You just can't do that because we have a lower threshold. You don't have a lower threshold. The threshold was impeachment. The impeachment trial failed for you guys. Trump won. He was innocent until proven guilty. He's still innocent. He's been declared not guilty. It's over. That's why I kept tweeting that out the other day. It's over. Move on. Now, I know some people on the right are nervous and afraid and all this. I'm explaining it as best as I can to you. I don't know what else I can possibly do. I know you're too plugged in to what the left is doing. If you're this worried and that nervous, I've gotten a lot of DMs from people. I get hundreds of DMs every day, and I try to read through all of them. I can't possibly reply to all of them. It's impossible. But I just want to just calm you down. It's over. Now, they could try doing it. They're crazy enough to do anything. And if they may get a few crazy Republicans to vote with them. You saw we have a few crazy Republicans that are so petty, by the way, about Trump, their hatred towards Trump. Let me tell you, this isn't about rhinos. There are rhinos and there are rhinos. Okay, there are degrees to rhinos, by the way. I hope you guys can start processing that, and because it took me a while to get this. So here, this may help you guys. There are degrees to rhinos. There's someone like Graham, who's a rhino, but for the most part, he'll flip around and support the president. Okay, If the president's in office, he's going to be 100% behind him. Then there's someone like McConnell who's just kind of just burned out and jealous, frankly, and has had enough. All right. And then there are the Romneys and the Sasses that you know what? They should just be in the other party. They have a personal hatred towards Donald Trump beyond reason. And with Romney, I can tell you what I think it is, frankly. Trump had, right around Thanksgiving in 2016, he had dinner with him. He was, auditioning for the role of Secretary of State, and Trump just blew him off and said, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And that's after Trump trashed him all throughout the campaign, never liked him. And that's because Trump probably, it's a personal thing. Trump said personal things about Romney. Romney said personal things about Trump. And then the last straw was when, Trump basically just blew him off as Secretary of State. And he never forgot that. And that's all it is. It's just petty nonsense like that. We should encourage other Republicans to primary all these clowns, but who cares? The point is that, Democrats could get some of these guys to vote, and they could try a censuring, and they could say he's disqualified from holding office. But there's another problem with that. Besides the fact that they just acquitted him, and again, it's like the judge declaring someone not guilty, reading the verdict of the jury, and then turning around and sending the person to prison anyways, which you can't do, right? There's another problem with all this, something called the Bill of Attainder. Now, what is that? What is a Bill of Attainder? Bill of Attainders back under English common law was where the legislature, in some cases the Crown, but specifically Parliament or the legislature, could just declare someone guilty of a crime without due process of law. Bill of Attainder is exactly what the Constitution prohibits under Article 1, Section 9, and under Article 1, Section 10. It's prohibited for Congress, the very body that wants to just declare him unfit or disqualified for office, for holding office. It's expressly prohibited for them to do that under Article 1, Section 9, and for any state government to do it under Article 1, Section 10. In fact, the fact that it was banned under state law, in addition to federal law, by the framers, they preempted this to prevent states from doing it, goes to show you how important the framers viewed this issue. They did not believe that any legislative body should ever come over and declare someone guilty of a crime without a trial. So, but here's another way of looking at it. The reason it violates due process, which years later, about 4 years later, the Fifth Amendment in 1791, I believe it was when it was adopted, the Fifth Amendment prohibits anyone from having their life, liberty, or property taken without due process of law. This is repeated in the 14th Amendment, that Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. So you have a right to a trial. Well, he just had the trial, and he was found not guilty. So you can't go over and take his liberty away from him, that liberty to run for office again. Nor can you go over and take his property or anything else from him. So this is all a bunch of garbage, what Congress is considering. This 14A crap is just garbage. There's no way there's no way of getting around it. They are prohibited from doing it. It would essentially be a Bill of Attainder. And trust me, if they tried censuring him, Trump's lawyers, as bad as they are, and I say bad meaning they're kind of like, they really did good at the end. They started off terribly. I mean, so let's face it, the first couple of days was awful. But they managed to pull this win out, okay? But let me just say this. He will immediately sue in federal court, the president. And he will immediately, the court's going to just vacate it. It's just, you can't say that, you can't, this is actually a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. You're essentially declaring a person guilty of a crime that he's just been acquitted from. I mean, it's just impossible. You can't do that. And it's the same body. I'm just telling you guys, it isn't going anywhere. Trust me on this. Write it down. Rest. They may try it, but believe me, it isn't going to hold water. It isn't going to stand, and it's certainly not going to prevent him from running for office again.
In fact, at that point, I would consider, if I was Donald Trump, suing every member of Congress that votes for that, because now you're being harassed. I mean, clearly you are being harassed. You're a private citizen, and someone and member. I don't care if they're members of elected public officials or not. They're harassing you. I mean, now you can bring a lawsuit against the federal government, against Congress, the Congress of the United States, if necessary. As far as criminal trials go, let me tell you something about a criminal trial. If in civil court a preponderance of evidence is needed, and if you don't remember what that is, go back and review all of the stuff that we just went through with regards to the election irregularities. In civil court, a preponderance of evidence is needed to meet a threshold, okay, to basically establish guilt or crime. Not a crime, but a guilt. Or I should say that you've suffered. All right. Now, when it comes to criminal requires basically beyond a shadow of a doubt. To get a grand jury indictment in a crime that's been committed, you've really got to show that the crime has been committed. You can't just come in and go, well, he said, she said, and then just throw up a tweet someone said, and then anybody can interpret it any way. That's not evidence. I mean, that's hearsay. Okay. So the idea that a phone call to a Secretary of State, one clause out of a phone call is going to be taken out of context, and he was looking to get the Secretary of State to do something illegal. What was he looking? Oh, he was looking for votes or whatever they're saying. Try bringing that into a federal court. You just try getting an indictment and try getting a conviction on that, and then try having that conviction stand. It's not going to happen. They may do it to placate the far left, but they know it's going to be dismissed in court. You simply don't have evidence of anything. What did he do? He made a phone call. He made a phone call and he requested something. That's it. That's protected speech, guys. I'm talking to the Democrat. It's not going anywhere. So that idea that they're going to get him on what? I don't know what that has to do with insurrection. I mean, I don't know what they're really looking for there. They've got nothing. And that's the only way he could be barred from federal office, by the way. I'm going to circle back, is if they could have convicted him on insurrection, and they haven't. They acquitted him and it's over, and they can't violate his Fifth Amendment and 14th Amendment rights. Think about this. They're trying to use 14A Section 3 to violate 14A Section 1. It's simply put, due process protections that the President of the United States has, because he's a citizen of a country. Actually, specifically Donald Trump has, because he's a private citizen now of the country. He has the right to be heard in court. You can't just declare him guilty. That's prohibited in of itself expressly in two places in Article 1 of the Constitution. And then think about it, the same deliberative body that just acquitted him is going to try to declare him guilty. It's not happening. Without a trial? Oh, well, they had the trial. What happened in the trial? He was acquitted. Well, then there's no punishment. He goes free. It's just, the reason I'm just exhaustively keep going over this with you is I want to walk through all your questions, and I want you to go through the mental gymnastics with me. There's nothing they can do. It's over. That's why I keep saying it's over. Now, regarding the future. Oh, by the way, and a little footnote, when it comes to bills of attainders, okay, they're also banned in every state. All 50 states have those bans. So, you simply, the state constitutions as well as the federal constitution prohibits states from doing them, as well as Congress. So there's just no way you can get out of that. There's nothing you can do. I wanted to talk to you about the future. The future, simply put, and I bring this up a lot in the Democracy versus Republic seminars that I hold. And again, the next one is going to be late next month, late March. And if you're interested in signing up, please do me a favor. Give me a DM, send me a tweet, contact Roxy, contact Jen. If you're on Gab, go ahead and contact me there. Leave, whatever. You just get in contact with me, and I can give you the details, the sign up process, tell you the fees and all that. But when it comes to the future, now I talk a lot about this, we need to focus on, and this is what Republicans and conservatives should focus on, cleaning up the election system. So we need to reform the election system, simply put, at the state level. And then target primary for the primaries next year. Start primarying all the rhinos that you want to primary, and then focus on retaking the House and trying to take back the Senate. I do think it's going to be kind of hard for Republicans to take back the Senate. Numerically, they're defending more seats than the Democrats. It's not impossible, but it's too early yet to tell. I wouldn't be surprised if the GOP loses 2 or 3 seats in the Senate next year just by gravity. I mean, just essentially it's because of gravity. A lot of these guys are dropping off because of that too. That's why they're not running for re-election. They think their seats are in jeopardy. But it all depends. It's way too early yet to say, I do think we're going to take back the House. I think it's going to be very similar to a replay in 2010. The Republicans are looking at 47 seats in the House that are very vulnerable of the Democrats. They only need to take 5. I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if the Republicans pick up 30 or 35 seats next year in the House. And it could be that they lose a couple of seats in the Senate, like I said a moment ago. But maybe not. They may take the Senate back anyway. But the future, 2022, that's where the President Trump's probably going to be focused on cleaning up the election systems and then getting out there and helping people campaign and the Republicans to win everything, win the House and the Senate back in 2022. And then the future, 2024, what's President Trump going to do? He's perfectly eligible to run again. And I think there's a very good chance that he does run again. I think that he may announce that this year. He may announce it this summer. He may announce it next year. I think he will have a decision from him no matter what by late next year. I don't think he'll go far beyond that. He certainly won't go into, I don't believe he'll go too far into 2023 without announcing. But there are a lot of indications that he's really seriously considering running again. And he's immediately, as soon as he announces that he's running again, the candidate, the nominee. He's immediately the nominee. No doubt about it in my mind. No doubt about it in my mind. And that's the future for him. I mean, he's going to make a decision. If he doesn't run again, I would say DeSantis would be my first bet, and I think he should consider running. And we're talking, if DeSantis runs, we're talking he's going to have the whole Trump the whole Trump team behind him. I mean, Trump and his team are going to be staunchly behind this man, who I think would be a great president personally. But I mean, if President Trump runs again, I think your 2 best bets for VP are DeSantis first, and if DeSantis declines, I would say Ted Cruz. Beyond that, I don't think of anybody really. Oh, and what's her name? Naomi, I think her name is, from the governor from, was it South Dakota, North Dakota? I forget the Dakotas. Someone who's from the Dakotas. One of those 3 would be the best bet for VP. Heck, I would go for Newt Gingrich again personally, but that's my prejudice on that. Most of you guys should know that I'm a big Newt Gingrich fan. But, this is just stuff that we can only speculate to a certain degree about. I can't get too hung up on it. You shouldn't get too hung up on it because we've got a long way to go yet. Anyway, I'm glad. I'm glad you guys tuned in. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed Maximus Uncensored. If you want to support me, there should be a link a link below, and I would appreciate it. My PayPal. I do not get any payment for this. I do this for you guys, and everything I do on Twitter, I do it free of charge for everybody. On Twitter and on my podcast to just inform you guys and give you my 2 cents worth of everything. If you want to sign up for my seminars, though, that would be great, or my crash courses if you're looking for more in-depth learning or one-on-one studies in many different areas. Again, not just civics. I can also go beyond that because I am an educated historian and archaeologist. And if you're interested in any of topics that offhand, I can cover them, certainly, and I would be happy to. Send me a DM, look into it. Like I said, my next seminar is the Conservative Symposium, Conservative Philosophy in the Trump Era, where we're going to talk about Trump doctrine, which is foreign policy, but also Trumpism in general, including his domestic policies. And we're going to do that in light of other isms like paleoconservatism and neoconservatism. And we're going to look at unilateral globalism versus multilateral globalism and Marxism and neoliberalism and all these different isms that, to kind of help you understand exactly where all these people are coming from ideologically and how that relates to Donald Trump and his personal political philosophy, which is extremely unique. It straddles many different ideological fences. and not just one fence, but of multiplicity of fences. And I'm going to get into that big time in a very big seminar at the end of this month, which I will do an encore of for a much smaller group in early March, March 4th and 5th. And then, of course, a democracy versus republic seminar, which is where we go into everything from the break down the history of democracy and what it is and what it is not versus a republic, and what that is and what it is not. We go all the way back to Greece and Rome to discuss that, and then we come right up to the founding fathers, and then we discuss the Bill of Rights, and we break those down over 2 to 3 days, typically traditionally 3 days, but we actually are going to be doing this one at late March, 26th and 27th. And then we go into the 14th Amendment. We break that down and how the Bill of Rights applies to states now. And then we talk about the election process. It's very interesting, and I do highly recommend it. And I do crash courses of civics as well on a personal one-on-one basis. If you're interested in that, shoot me a DM and we can discuss that. Anyways, God bless yous. I love yous. I hope yous all do well. Take care of your families. I'll be doing another podcast soon. As soon as a variety of things come up that I think are important. If you want me to do more additional podcasts sooner, though, please do contact me and let me know, and I'll be happy to pump a few out. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Love you. Ciao.